Here was.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV episode 158. I am your host, John Van Derzen, with my wonderful co-host, who is not next to me, but over at the Vibram Open.
All right,
Terry
hello everyone.
Miller.
SmashBoxxTV episode 1.
Terry, do you have? All right,
there I'm sorry. I'm here.
My wonderful co-host, who is not next to me.
I apologize.
But over at the Vibram Open.
All right, hello everyone.
Miller.
Jeez, TV. Too much stuff going on here. Are you there, Johnny?
I'm here now. Just me, and not like 6 copies of me that you're going to keep repeating because you never turn off the YouTube.
We're in a little bit different setting and environment here tonight. I got all these YouTubes running around, and we're here and ready to go. So, first of all, thank you guys for joining us, and we're glad we're here and live as we're getting things under control. Yeah, okay. I think we're there. Do we need to do any kind of check there?
No, we're good. We're good now. I think we're fine. Now that you've got your YouTubes turned off and we're not hearing, 4 versions of us in an echo chamber. People get enough of us after 4 hours. They don't need us repeated.
I don't know. If you just opened up like 9 different browsers, then you could just have them playing in unison throughout your house. So again, welcome everyone. As Johnny V mentioned, I am in fact at the Vibram Open. Just got here a couple of hours ago today. A little bit of everything when it comes to the travel. Was in a car this morning, then we took a plane, then we ultimately hopped on a bus. We did some walking, a little bit of everything. So, and a train. We were on a train at one point coming out of the airport. So a long day. Then we showed up at the downtown disc golf that was taking place down in downtown Worcester, and had a good time over there for a few hours, and then finally got back, got on track and got over here, and now we're hanging out in the Sap House. We're watching a number of players play some pool and enjoy themselves as we're here on the eve of the Vibram Open kicking off.
I like how you hear people in the background like, don't yell, they're live.
That's all right. They can play around. I see. Yuli, did you win the last game? Okay, so Felberg, it looks like a Felberg-Yuli matchup here.
Speaking of Yuli, make sure to tell him to get his picks in by tonight. I need to make a post out there, and because the event starts tomorrow. So you have until midnight tonight to make your picks, people, for the Vibram Open.
All right, Yuli, you got to get your picks in yet. No, you haven't.
He might have. I don't know. I just want to make sure to remind him.
Well, maybe you did. We don't know. Why would we know such silly things? So tonight, I think what we'll do is we'll ultimately we'll recap the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open, which just took place obviously a few days ago. It feels like, well, it literally was just a couple of days ago that wrapped up. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on here at the Vibram Open. We'll also give a real quick recap of the WIFDIF team event that was taking place. I ran into Richard today, Richard and Ketka, who were at the event. Yeah, we'll get into some more details, but they said it was a great event, great to be at, and it's a really good start for what we're going to see for some team events moving forward. So definitely a positive response to that event taking place. And it's so funny as he was talking about it and going on about some of the details and the specifics, I just kept thinking about things like Ryder Cup and other team tournaments that we've seen out there. And he had so much excitement because it was a very dramatic event, and it sounded like it was awesome. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So
fantastic.
All right, what's out there on the board? Looks like we've got a healthy number of people watching, taking place. As always, if you want to interact with us, your best bet is to go out to the live chat found on the YouTube page. You can do that, and yeah, if you got questions or you want to put something in there, point something out, tell Johnny he's wrong, whatever the case might be, you could do that along on the YouTube chat on the right-hand side. So, and it sounds like audio else is working out fine?
Yeah, everything sounds fantastic.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. All right, what do you want to start with there, Johnny?
Well, I think we could start. You want to start with the event results? We can talk about the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open.
So out in Pittsburgh this last weekend, we had a national tour event taking place, and it was played at just one course. It's Moraine State Park. a lot of the pros talk about when they travel around, the kind of preparation that's needed to play different parks, different courses. Sometimes there can be a lot of travel even between them. I think Deer Lakes, which is another really well-respected, very challenging course. I think I heard someone say it's 45 minutes away. So things like that all add up, and then you're playing, multiple courses, you're learning them, you're practicing them, so on and so forth. And so you get a little bit of a mixed review when you go out and you poll some of our players. I think the larger majority, I think that's by definition a majority, I think the majority will tell you that they enjoy playing just the one course multiple rounds, but there are certainly some older school players that will say, well, I like a variety of courses. There's a number of great courses. I'd like to play as many as possible. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, they played just at Moraine State Park. It was 3 rounds over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I had the pleasure of watching all 3 rounds from the women's side, from the women's perspective. The first morning I went out and I watched the card that had Sandy Hendel along with Sarah Lamberson, and then Paige Pierce along with Catrina Allen. So I watched that card. I filmed all of that. And then we saw 2 of those people, Paige Pierce and Catrina. Of course, they were your leaders after day 1. And so I watched them move on to the lead card for day 2's action. And then, of course, we moved over to day 3, where they were still the 2 that were in most contention. And I don't know if you've seen the footage or not. It's all out there. It's available. There was a quick momentum shift within the first 2 holes, I'll say. And from that point, Kat just really never looked back. She picked up a couple strokes early on in the first 2 holes over Paige. And then from that point, and not only did she not have to look back, she actually kicked in on her turbo booster and said, there's no chance of catching me. I think she had 6 or 7. She had 6 birdies in the first 8 holes. And that was it. So there was, even if Paige hadn't given up the 2 strokes in the first 2 holes, Kat was just playing phenomenal. And also, I do want to say, Kat graciously said she'd love to join us on the show. She wanted to talk about everything going on. And then we realized it would be 10 o'clock our time before we got started here. She has to play early tomorrow morning. She's also she's also a very much an early morning person as opposed to a night owl. And so with that combination, I'll have to just catch up with her later in the week, and then maybe we can play an interview or something. But not going to work out. So
yeah,
we did. She wanted to join us. We were going to have her. It was all perfect, and then we realized, oh yeah, it's going to be 10 o'clock before we get started. She's already sleeping right now. So it wasn't going to work out today, unfortunately.
And there were a few notable things about the FPO division this weekend. We saw one of the big talks again was baskets. And we saw, I believe it was in the round 2, hole 18, Paige threw a putt that looked like it was pretty solid. Maybe a touch high, hits the pole, kicks straight back at her, rolls down the hill. She misses the comeback, and then she goes from being tied. Was that round 1 or round? That was round 2, right?
It was round 2. She threw the putt. It actually it went in and it came out, and then it rolled OB.
It rolled OB. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she made the comebacker, but nonetheless, it was certainly at least a 2-stroke swing there. Because thinking that she was going to make the putt, she was probably going to go into a tie on Sunday. Otherwise, I think Kat was setting herself up for what was going to be a bogey that round, or for that hole. Paige was going to set up for a birdie, I believe was the situation. So yeah, you're exactly right though, that it went from being a potential birdie, turn bogey, and then she went into Sunday with that 2-stroke deficit. And I just want to call it a shift in momentum or whatever. That kind of started it. So.
Yeah, that was really where the shift started. And then the other, I mean, they're obviously Kat is the big story here, and the fact that she won an event, which she hasn't in a while. She was dominant, which she hasn't been in a while. And I hate to play into stereotypes, but a lot of people watching the coverage noticed she just her demeanor was a completely different demeanor on the course than she has had in the past 3, 4, 5 months that we've seen. She was upbeat. She was smiling. She was having fun. She was joking around. There were quite a few comments from people saying, this is what I want to see from the women's field. This is what I want to see from any player not so much someone being grumpy like Cat has been known to be in the past. She was very much having fun, which I think maybe played into why she shot so well.
That could have had some impact to it. It's obviously tough to determine exactly if that was, that was the cause and effect and the result that we got. But you nailed it on the head. In fact, I actually had a conversation with her and had said, there's definitely a noticeable difference, and it's very welcomed, and it's great to see. I mean, those were almost verbatim what I said to her. And, I respect Kat and know Kat off the course as well. And so to see her have this tone, this difference, demeanor is really the best word for it overall, and attitude, it was awesome. And if you listen to me talking to her after the tournament, when it was all said and done and she was the champion, I had opened and said, is it fair to say you haven't performed the way you would have liked to thus far this year? And she said, no, I feel like I certainly haven't. That's very fair to say. And so whether, the change in attitude was a direct result into the actual scores, maybe not, but either way, it was awesome to see. I hope that continues for her. There seemed to be a much lighter spirit on her behalf, and if that's a secret, again, when I said what was the difference, she said, she did some field work, and I feel like it was maybe a little more than just field work. But
yeah,
she said she did some field work earlier in the week that helped her out, and there's something to be taken, right there for everyone at home. Going out and playing as much golf as possible isn't always the situation. So she said field work was something that was different for her, and that helped. It was another comment that I heard at one point in the weekend was she really felt that Idlewild was incredibly tight and maybe a little too punishing. There was a few holes and a few instances that she simply wasn't a fan of, and I think she genuinely did not have a good time at Idlewild. And I said it last week. She finished 29 strokes behind me. That's just almost unprecedented. You'd never expect to see that because she is such a high level, highly skilled player. And I think just getting to this course, although it was tight and wooded, you can move that if you need to. You can move that box. Getting to that course, she said, this is tight, but it still feels wide open compared to Idlewild. So
some people just aren't a fan of certain types of courses, and that seemed to be Kat's particular issue at Idlewild. There were a lot of good reviews about Idlewild. I said I liked it, but if me watching a player play there versus a player having to step up to the tee box and throw these tight lines with OB, obviously two completely different things. So maybe she goes back and tries to attack it again. Maybe she doesn't and just takes a weekend off. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, that's exactly. We'll see. I mean, Idlewild will, by all accounts, looks like it should return to the Pro Tour. It was an amazing event. It's an amazing venue. We talked all about that. But like you said, maybe that's a weekend that she decides to relax and says, you know what, that's not my style of course, or I don't particularly like that course or score well there. So maybe it will be a time for her to take a breather, or maybe she has a slightly refreshed attitude about that course come next year, because it's one that was bit a lot of people in a lot of ways. So so on the women's side, it was a great battle. We knew that Holcomb's always in the running, and Lisa Fakis was right there on that lead card, as we've seen her so much this year. Just great all-around playing. I watched her throw a handful of forehands that, she said she's worked on, and she basically taught herself the forehand shot in general. And she's just proving that she belongs right there on a lead card on any given weekend. And then just right there, just a hair off, was Jessica Weiss. I saw her on that second card for throughout most of the weekend as well. And pick her to do well there is really no surprise either. And she was, like I said, she was a couple of strokes off the pace. So all in all, it turned out, yes, Catrina won by 8. I felt like it was closer than that, but it all came down to that last round, and she kicked it into another level and just left everyone else behind her. It was a 1,008 rated round, actually. I'm just looking at that now. It was 1,008 rated.
Yeah,
so,
she just got. I mean, I know the ratings don't say so, but she got better and better based on versus the field. So she just kind of grew the lead. So.
Yeah, it was awesome to see, though, proving that there's still going to be, on any given weekend, there should be a good competitive battle in that division. And I think you're going to see the same. I think every name I just mentioned, you're going to see in a very highly contested battle this weekend as well.
Yeah.
Similar course. A lot of these women have now played here for a number of years. We've seen almost every one of them win it at one time or another. Paige has won here before. Val Jenkins has won here before. Holcomb has won. Kat has won. Like, everyone has won at some point here. So we know that it's just a matter of whose weekend is it to go out and get it. So,
and Paige has had a pretty good history the past couple years here. So I think if you're picking favorites, I think you kind of have to pick Paige based on history and her recent play, other than this past weekend where she still took second. I mean, come on, it's not like she folded. But if you had to, I think a favorite right now is Paige, but just barely.
Yeah, I mean, if Kat brings the exact same game and attitude that she brought just a few days ago, she clearly will be right there, stroke for stroke. So it's going to be fun to see. Of course, we're here at a Pro Tour event, and that means what we'll be doing is, I believe Todd Dodge specifically will be out filming the women each morning. He'll get their footage. We'll hand it off to Steve Dodge. Steve Dodge will edit it up, put in his top-notch commentary, from what I've heard. He'll put in his commentary, feed that on, and then we'll feed it into our live broadcast. So look for that, as has been our protocol this year. So looking forward to that.
I was gonna say, let's talk about the MPO division at the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open. We had this guy named Paul McBeth win. He didn't quite lead wire to wire, but he was right there the entire weekend. He just kind of got hot and didn't give up, didn't let anyone catch up. I mean, that's clearly how you win, but in general, it's kind of Paul's course. I mean, again, that's his 2015 championship. He's won there in the past, and I believe other events. And he shot a 1053, a 1065, and a 1057. So unless you're shooting well above your average, you are not catching him. So.
Yeah, and look who was right there, battling with him down to the final few holes. No surprise after we saw the performance that we saw at Idlewild, and we've seen at other especially tight-wooded courses. James Conrad right there in the mix of things, as one would expect. And then Simon, didn't Simon come in with one of the hotter rounds out of everyone during the final round? Yeah, he ended up having the hot round of the entire day, at 54 to leap all the way up into second as well. And I know he was pretty close with Michael Johansson, just a stroke off of him. But Simon Lizotte from the second card found himself in that tie. So rounding out, as you were going with Johnny, Paul McBeth first, Lizotte tied for second with Michael Joe, woodsy player. You hate to almost stereotype and say that about some of these players, but if they keep proving that they have dominant performances in those same situations, I think that's kind of a stereotypical. The stereotype fits. Michael Joe and then James Conrad finishing in fourth, and then just off the pace, Chris Dickerson, Ricky Wysocki, those guys finished in fifth, and then Jeff Bennett and Jeff Bennett in sole seventh, and then Stephen Miller and Paul Ulibarri in eighth. And I think there's certainly something to be said in that top 10 spot. Not only Stephen Miller, who's a guy we don't see often, obviously a solid player at 10-14, but then Jeff Bennett.
That's a blast from the past for for a quick history lesson, Jeff Bennett was I wouldn't call him dominant, but he was a very well-regarded Open player for many years, probably about 10 years ago. He has a wicked forehand, a lot of power. You can always spot him on the course because he looks like he's trying to start a lawnmower before he throws usually. And he's just in general a really solid player. Little known fact, I believe he was one of the people that taught Sarah Hokum her forehand, helped her out with that way back in the day. And he's just he's one of those local guys now that you always see him up in the top regionally. But then when it becomes when the big arms come to town and it becomes a national event, he holds his place. I think he could be a solid top 15 to 20 rated golfer if he toured all the time. But as we know, that's a difficult thing to do.
Well, he used to very much be on tour, and he's backed off of that. I'm not sure exactly where life and career and everything else has taken him entirely since that. But he was full-time on tour and very much a road warrior. Usually one of the leaders when it came to PDGA events played in a year. Yeah. He's gotten close or even crested that 50 event mark in a single year. So he's definitely a guy that's gone out there and played a lot. And then when you add in all of his pump fakes, it's like he's played 300 events in a year. As the board has said, a lot of people who aren't familiar like you and I and haven't seen him, he's got a very, very laborious, is that a good word? Routine?
Sure.
It's just, he pump fakes a lot. He really gets his arms going. It's something unique. It's not something new. I saw a comment where someone was like, I think he was just nervous. Like, no,
not nervous. If it's one thing he's not, it's nervous. He's been on this stage for years. He knows what it takes to be a top player. We made jokes last week a little bit about Chris Dickerson and his warm-up. He faked out our camera a couple times, but Jeff Bennett is one of those ones where you just have to wait, and it is painful at times, but he gets the job done, and you can't really argue with results.
And I'm going to follow that up and double down by saying, if you have a problem with Sarah Hokum's form, bring it to her face and tell her. Polish off her world championship ring or trophy first, and then tell her, all right? Because the internet trolls that it's just so old is maybe the best way to say it, that as soon as a video is posted with Sarah and people say her form is so painful to watch, guess what? I'd put down $100 every day of the week that she would take you out to the course and beat you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Let the players deal with themselves.
Drew Gibson from afar. Are you agreeing with me, Drew?
I'll take your bet.
Oh, he'd take my bet. Okay.
Oh well.
First, you have to go troll the internet. Well, you do that. So, okay. But seriously, it gets so old because that's usually one of the first comments that comes in when she's featured in a video is, oh, her form's so painful. That's why you're sitting at home watching YouTube videos, all right?
Yep.
Okay? Just don't worry about it.
And we know that. We've all seen that with different people. So, yeah, so that's...
It's wrong. I'm not saying, like, Jeff Bennett, and this to tie this all up, like, Jeff Bennett's form is very unique. It's different. It's something a lot of people aren't used to. I can understand how people are like, oh, that's a little odd. I get all that. But when you see someone like, Sarah Hokum every single weekend, get over it.
I agree. So that was the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open. Like we said, a lot of the same names. A lot of the names that I think you have to kind of pick for this weekend. Michael Joe, James Conrad, Paul Macbeth, Simon Lizotte. I mean, if I take a wild gamble, it would be those players. Is Cale Leviska there this week? He's usually...
Well, funny thing you say that. He is here.
Okay.
And I only know that because I believe he's with Dana. And originally Dana had talked about joining us on the Downtown Disc Golf. And all said and done, there was a change of plans. And I think he's officially shacked up or touring with Cale at the moment, or with him this week. So They didn't make it down there. So that's how I do know that he is in fact in town, though.
Because he missed something that he was scheduled to go to. That's Kale for you. Yeah. So, and again, as we saw last year, it came down to, or no, I'm sorry, 2 years ago it was Kale. Kale's been dominant at this event more often than I can remember. He's won it. What was that? Yeah, I think he's won it twice. Correct?
Yes, I believe twice.
So he's one of those players that you have to pick. He's just deadly with his mid ranges, and that's the type of game you need to play here, because a driver is going to kick off a tree and go deeper in the woods than probably your mid-range is. So he's one of those players that is always he's a national name, but he isn't on tour like everybody else. He's a very unique case, and you kind of you got to pick him to take top 5. I mean, it's just no-brainer.
Yeah, one would think, exactly, if you know what you're doing anyway. Which is funny, because I think there's plenty of people who wouldn't, just because we haven't been seeing him as much. You hit the nail on the head. He's obviously going to put up great scores, could be in contention to win it, but he may not be the household name because he's just simply not out on the tour as much.
Correct. Real quick, going back to the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open, a couple weeks ago, we had a little bet, and it involved one Josh Anthon about what position he would take at this event. I said he would not take top 3, and you swore up and down for sure that he would. We bet 10 clams on it, and you lost, Terry Miller.
SpongeBob clams?
What was that?
Like SpongeBob clams?
10 clams. You can pick them up on the East Coast there for me. Just bring back 10 clams. Josh not taking top 3. Now he goes into the Vibram, a very similar wooded type of course. Are you willing to double down?
Maybe I'll pull the gallery. Should I put 10 on Anthon finishing top 3? $10.
Top 3?
Drew Gibson, good friend and supporter. Oh, he's going to go top 5.
Ooh, that's not the bet, though, Drew.
That's not the bet. Top 3?
He's either going to win or get 7.
Okay. The quote from Drew is he's either going to win or get 7th.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll decide, because we don't promote gambling on this web podcast by any means. Gambling is bad. But yes, gambling. We'll talk about that. So anyway, Josh is going to be there, and obviously with being a top-rated player, he's always in contention. So
it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Real quick, go ahead.
I was just going to say, pretty much everyone that you would want or expect to see on a weekend of golf is in fact here. I mean, the one of the only other notables that is usually out there who isn't this weekend would be McRae. He's pretty much the only other big name that's consistently touring that's just simply not here. So just real quick, we'll run down. You have Macbeth Wysocki, Lizotte Sexton, Anthon Doss, Leviska, Matty Oram, Eagle McMahon, Michael Joe, Jeremy Colling, Nico Lecastre, James Conrad, Bobby Musick, who we haven't seen quite as much of, Steve Brinster, who certainly could perform very well here, Sepu Paju, who is now here and in the States for a little while. So that's kind of a newer name, which will be awesome to have. Devin Owens, Paul Ulibarri, so on and so forth. So,
yep.
It's going to be great because this is about as stacked as it gets when it comes to top level play on great courses or a great course.
Yeah, if you wanted to pick out 5 events of the year and ask people what is their favorite one, this is going to be up there. I mean, it's got to be a toss up between this, like USDGC, and maybe like the European Open. I think right now those are your premier.
And I can't even say the European Open because so many of these players that
don't get a chance to go over there.
Go. Yeah, they don't go. You're not gonna find Conrad and Musick and Yuli and so many of the players. A ton of those players I just mentioned. You'll have a handful of them, but Yeah, it's this is about as good of a field as you're going to get. Marty Gregoire, Media Marty, out on the board. Thank you, Marty, for all of your hard work this weekend. You and Michael Downs, who does harder work, it has said Johnny McRae is actually listed as pulling out of the U.S. Masters as well, which takes place next weekend. So I saw a post from him a week or so ago, right after the PDGA Pro Masters, simply saying he's got a heel and the Lyme disease has taken its toll and has flared up, in a variety of ways. And he's just going to simply rest his body and take off. So, and pulling out of a Masters major is, that it's very serious at that point that he means business if he's going to be pulling out of a Masters major for sure.
It really is. That's got to be tough on him. So.
So the names, the field is stacked. When it comes to the men at this event, the same thing I would say could be said of the women's field. I'm going to sort by rating real quickly, but everyone you would expect is here. You've got Pierce, Allen, Holcomb, Val Jenkins, who we always kind of talk about. Those four seem to be almost on a tier of their own. And then you have Jessica Weiss, Hannah Leatherman, Lisa Fakis, Zoe Andyke. I saw Zoe today. Got a hug out of her because
I'm jealous.
Yep. Melody Wable, and then Katka Badova, who's here, as I just mentioned. Her and Richard are here from overseas. So great to see her here. And amazing left-handed female player. And then Vanessa Van Dyken, who I said earlier, Sepu Payu is here, and Vanessa as well. So, and Courtney McCoy. So. Great. We saw Courtney McCoy just finish in a tie for third at the U.S. The Pro Masters, Women's Pro Masters, a few weeks ago. So awesome, stacked players there. I know someone asked earlier about Madison, and Madison. We may not see Madison throw a disc yet in 2017.
Unfortunately, so, she's kind of relayed that her healing is not going the way it wants to, that she may have to have surgery, and she's talking about MRIs and things and X-rays and things of that nature. So just best wishes to Madison, and we can hope that she heals up over the, take a couple months off, get yourself right, come back strong next year.
And I think there was rumor though that Madison might be in town here for the event this week.
I know she wanted to be. So
wow.
Let's talk about one more set of results. There's a few A tiers. I know Alex Geisinger again won the Lake Superior Open. Congratulations, Alex, back-to-back wins. But there's really not a lot to talk about there. There wasn't a lot of stiff competition there.
Let me clarify. I saw a post as I was in Pittsburgh, and my cameraman, our cameraman, Chad, who was out there competing, and then I saw a lot of posts from players in Wisconsin. There was rain, and they were playing on a mountain hillside, and they were talking about 5 and 6 and 7 hour rounds in the rain. So, of course, hats off. I guess the event went as smoothly as it could have given the conditions, but that sounds effing miserable. A 7 hour round in rain on a muddy hillside. I'll pass. So,
yeah, I'll pass.
But it sounds like the event itself was great, with the exception of the weather.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we don't talk a lot about this, but there was the WIFDIF 2017 World Team Disc Golf Championship. So for those of you that don't know, the World Flying Disc Federation, WIFDIF, they have a team disc golf event based on your country. If you go out on Facebook, which is kind of funny because I looked anywhere else, but Facebook is where you find it, and you just look up WFDF 2017 Team Disc Golf, you'll see a big thing of results. But Team Canada took home the win. They got the gold, followed up by Team New Zealand taking the bronze, and the silver, I believe, was Team... silver was Finland, bronze was New Zealand. So congratulations to all three teams. U.S. did not participate, not that they didn't participate, they did not play well. Most of our top players, it's not an event that they go to because, again, this is usually tied into kind of the overall disc golf. You got freestyle, guts, DDC, all that other good stuff. But this was an event where you played by country. It was a doubles event. They've got a whole breakdown. Round 1 was round robin. I think round 2 might have been like a best shot. There were like 4 different rounds.
There was a lot of. Now, I don't believe there was any other disc disciplines that were played at this.
Not this particular event.
Correct. Yes, but it was a lot of various doubles formats that were played. Was what Richard was telling me, and I believe, and I apologize, I didn't read the entire thing, and I also just posted it on YouTube. It let me post a link. I think if you're an admin, it lets you post.
If you're an admin, if you got a wrench.
But I believe they said it. The play was basically done with a lot of the various matches, and it came down to, I think, a couple of the women's matches at the end where there was more of a gallery and people were rallying around what was going on there. And it came like all the way down to the final few throws. I don't know what there was for coverage. If there was some, I hope there was, but I don't think there was probably extensive coverage. If so, video coverage. But I guess it was a nail biter. He said it couldn't have been more exciting. And all I kept thinking is, okay, how do we incorporate that into some live disc golf?
Well, we've had some talks with one of the guys from WIFDIF about doing some stuff for them in the future. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a doubles or a guts or an overalls that we start to get maybe involved in that a little bit. But for now, I don't believe there's anything there. So.
Yeah, so very, very awesome to see. And as Richard and Ketka had said to me a few hours ago, it's a great start to what could be an amazing event and continue to grow into being an amazing event. And for that, I'm super excited to hear more as it unfolds. And we'll see, like our President's Cup, there's no money won there. That is really for prestige. Pride and for honor and prestige and for bragging rights. And there's no money that's won or lost at that event. And I think of, will some of this WIFDIF team action spill into or develop into something that has that honor and that prestige associated with it? So
that would be nice.
And it sounds like there will be an article by Marty Gregoire that's going to be coming out about it as well, coming up soon. So very, very good to see. All right. Oh, really? Sorry, Luke. Was it in fact a second year that the team event took place? If so, I apologize. We apologize if it was the second year of the team. But nonetheless, it sounds like they have some growing to do, and we'll, like I said, I would like to see if it can become something that's really sought after. And then I guess the real question is, I think about our who represented the United States, and it wasn't any of our household top level players that we see week in and week out. And then you think of like an Olympics where, is it our best professionals? Is it whoever represents, how are they getting the positions? Are they being elected? Are they being won? Are they qualifying? And if we're going to send a team to go win a team-based event, one would think someone like that Macbeth fella might make the team somewhere, even if it's a 5th seed. He might make the team somehow. So something to think about.
I'm gonna petition to make the team.
Yeah, I think you should. Speaking of teams, let's real quickly this weekend. Some are gonna cry and maybe even just boycott the broadcast because they're going to miss out. The people that want Steve Dodge on Saturday and Sunday co-commentating, but we're gonna trade in Steve for a few hours, for a few days, and the likes of Robert's beautiful hair McCall will be joining the broadcast. So super excited. Definitely noteworthy that we'll have Robert joining us. He's always such a great welcomed addition to having him do the commentating. Hey, maybe I could just take the day off. Why don't we have Robert and Steve do it?
I'm good with that. I don't need you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to be here. Go post to Instagram and stuff.
Go across the street and play the pyramids.
Yeah, I've never played there. I've been here all these years, 6, 8, 10 years, and I haven't even played the course across the street. So, yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. So anyways, we will have Robert, and he's going to be here for Saturday and Sunday's round. And just to clarify, if somehow you aren't up to speed on this, we'll tell you again, we are not live during the opening round, which is taking place on Thursday. We will not be live, but we will be live for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What are we looking at? About 3:30-ish Eastern time, I believe.
Correct. I believe it's 3:30 Eastern for each round. I looked at I was going out to create the events today. I saw somebody else have already gone out and done that. So props to whoever, probably Seth, for going out and getting that taken care of. And it's set to 3:30 Eastern for each day. So that's when you can find us live. We'll post some links up, but remember, you can always watch at dgpt.com/watch. That always has all the videos, all the Jomez stuff. That has all our stuff on there. It'll have, whatever is put out as far as video, or you can find us on the Smashbox Live or the Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube page. So that's kind of plans.
Yeah, and then one last, it's not really a plug, it's really legitimate feedback I'm looking for. I kind of, I'll say, went back to some roots this last weekend, and in covering the women, I managed to get Sarah Lamberson to join me for the first round. She played in that group, and then I was able to get things edited together where she was able to join me for commentary during the first round. Second round, things were pushed back, I'll say, because I didn't get off the course till after 6 p.m. So there wasn't really time to get the commentary in by someone else and me. So I skipped commentary on the second round, but if you listen closely, there's a lot of really awesome interaction that takes place among the women. And then third round, the final round, once I got home on Monday, I got a commentary track laid down on top of that round. And I really genuinely want people's feedback, whether they liked, not necessarily just what I had to say, but if they like commentary on top of it, and how the audio quality was. I'm still, trying to find exactly the best sounding methodology for adding commentary, and everybody kind of does it differently. So I'm looking for some feedback if anyone has it. You want to send it to me privately or post it on YouTube, or talk about Sarah's form and then follow it up with, oh, Terry, your audio levels were on or off. That would be great. So sorry, Marty Gregoire, you didn't get to do commentary with me, buddy. Next time.
All right, let's discuss a little bit about the news of what is going on in the PDGA. And we have actually relatively big news. Speaking of Vibram, and last year the Vibram came down to 2 players. Terry, who was it?
The Vibram 2 players last year. It's funny, I'd have to actually think about that.
It was a playoff between Michael Joe.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, Michael Joe and Bradley Williams. I was gonna say, like, Ricky, Paul, what?
And a few.
Michael Joe and Bradley Williams. Yes.
And a few short weeks later, we saw Bradley Williams get into a little scuffle at the Ledgestone and end up suspended for, I believe it was 18 months. Well, as of today, Bradley Williams' suspension is officially reduced down to 12 months. So he is now eligible to play, I believe, after this weekend. Next weekend, September 9th. So he's got a week and a half or so before he can play, and he will still be on probation. The probation is, rather than being suspended with a 6 months probation, I believe he's just got like an extra, whatever the extra in probation is. So he'll now be on probation for a total of 24 months, which means that if any other incidents happen, he is not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So he needs to be on his best behavior. He is not. I'm looking at the Ultra World. You can go to Ultra World Disc Golf and take a look. They have the article out there. But we're waiting on probably some response from Bradley. I'm sure he's happy to be back. He might even be able to play in. I don't know if he qualify. No, he can't qualify for USDGC.
No, he could qualify in theory for USDGC
if he goes. If he plays the day of.
Or potentially, I don't know what all the other qualifiers are, but I'd be willing to bet the Hall of Fame Classic, or is that after?
That's after. So I don't know what events are before USDGC, but that would be the first big event you would see him back at. He'll probably play the Hall of Fame Classic, I would take a wild guess unless he's got something else going on. And hopefully we'll see that top-level talent come back, and maybe with a nice, I don't want to say attitude adjustment, because there are two sides to every story, but hopefully a little cooler and calmer heads can prevail.
Yeah, we'll see if he jumps right back into the scene, though. I think that's really the question, because just because he's unsuspended, I don't know if he's like, okay, well, yeah, so I'm going to start booking flights in every big tournament. I'm just going to show up. He may not have that mentality, and that to me is really the question that's left. I don't know if the article addressed any of that or talked about his plans, but
he hasn't.
He's unsigned, I don't know that he didn't go out and get a contract job for 12 months.
Yeah, no one's really heard from him. No one's heard from him for a few months.
Exactly.
As far as I don't think anyone's actually attempted to talk to him for quite a few months. But before, or when he was first suspended, he said he wasn't going to get a job, that he was going to do things such as disc sales and I believe non-sanctioned events, lessons, things of that nature. So if that is the case, I would imagine he would get back as soon as he can to help, make ends meet, because he is a consistent top player. He's one of the best golfers in the world when he's playing. And I think that I think he should. It'd be good to see him back on the tour. To follow that up, I would like to know, is he rusty? How much has he been playing? Does he has he really kind of put down his disc for the last 2 or 4 months and said, okay, I'm going to focus on some of these other things a little bit more intently? Yeah, who knows? He may not be at the form that he was when he left, or maybe it takes him 2 weeks. I mean, he's such a good player. He may say, okay, yeah, this is coming down the pipe, and yeah, I'll be ready in a week, and he could be picked right back up. My question would be, when was he made aware of this? Was this day when we learned of it? Was this a week ago? Was this 6 months ago? When was he made aware of the possibility? And then the follow-up to that is, I haven't talked to anybody from the disciplinary committee. Does this send the right or wrong signal? There was so much tension over an 18-month suspension, and then I'll say all of a sudden now it just gets reduced for what are we going to say? Good behavior? Well, you would think there's been no behavior. I mean, because he hasn't been able to play in an event. So it raises questions, and I'm not even in any accusatory way trying to get at anything. I just think it is fair to say, okay, well, it's great for Bradley. The question is, does it raise other questions? I don't know if it necessarily raises other questions. I want to see. I have other questions. I want to hear the procedure. Did Bradley petition to have the suspension reduced again? Did he appeal it? Has it finally taken this long for the appeal? If so, I doubt that that's the case, but I think that I think that's ridiculous. Someone out there is saying Bradley completed an anger management course, therefore reducing the suspension. If that's the case, and that was a quote-unquote secret or not so secret stipulation of the PDGA, that's fantastic. I just wish that would be made a little bit more public. And I hope that if that's what it was, and then he repetitioned the PDGA and said, hey, here's my voucher for my anger management class, and they say, okay, you're down to your suspension ends after 12 months, then I think that's a good answer and a good solution, because it's something that we haven't seen from the PDGA, and it's something we haven't really had to address as a sport yet. We haven't really had a suspension due to his length, due to a repeated offender. So I hope that we get a little bit more details. I would like to get him on the show if he's available. We can maybe talk to him in a couple weeks and get a general idea of how and what happened, and feel and kind of feel it out.
Well, again, if you go to the Ulta World, it says right in there he was initially suspended for 18 months. His appeal suspension was conditionally denied. As he said in March, that the sports governing body had requested that he complete the anger management courses. Is originally blah blah blah. So again, it sounds like there was a little give and take here to arrive at this this change. So great to see. And then it says, quote, "I'm really happy that he's coming back into play," end quote. Duffy said he's a great player. So we should see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I'll be curious.
Yeah. So certainly some talk out there. Other talk that, yeah, exactly. We should be doing our research, as someone had said on there.
Yeah, research. That's what other companies are for. That's what Alta World is for.
Exactly. Well, I was just about to bust him out. Simon Lizotte is on the board. He was in here a few minutes ago, and right before we went live, he said, "Don't talk about hole one's eagle." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Well, because it wasn't real." And so he's on the board right now saying, "I'm coming clean. That video was fake. I didn't mean it to public. I didn't mean it to public. It was a joke between me and Mitch," referring to Mitch Sonder fan, who is not here. So Simon did not, in fact, eagle hole number 1, which has been pushed back another 50 or pushed back 50 feet, measuring it in at 835 feet. He did not eagle it. So
not to say that it couldn't.
Mines are blowing right now. I'm surprised we have any viewers left. I thought it'd go down to like 0 or 1. Mines are blown that, Simon Lizotte did not eagle.
The throw where it landed was a little too perfect. I mean,
I was thinking,
that was my only thought, was like, and I watched it without audio, so I thought like, oh, I wonder how many throws it took him to get to that exact spot right in the mouth of the fairway, and I thought, wow, that's a heck of a crush. It's downhill, but
he dropped it.
Yeah,
it took him one throw. He walked over to that spot, dropped it on the ground, and said, "Yeah, I'll putt from here."
You know what he could have done? Attached it to a drone you're flying, because you're flying it right into those trees anyway, and then the disc just falls with the drone you fly.
That's a good call. I did ace those trees once.
Oh my Lord! So he could have just done that, but no. Simon, it was a nice putt, but unfortunately the drive was not real.
So, yeah. All right. Well, he's coming clean on the board. Hence, I wasn't really going to bring it up. I was going to adhere to what he had said and respect it. But he's on the board saying that he that it was not real. Entertaining. The best part about it clearly is that it's believable.
Oh yeah, with the right.
Clearly, you or I go out there and say that, and everyone's like, "Yeah, effing right." It's just never, not humanly possible. But for Simon, as crazy as it is, it is possible.
With the right wind and the right 360, I think he can get virtually that close, because it's downhill, and it'd be a matter of getting a good shot off, and he could do it. Wow, it would be.
Yeah, he says right on the board, "I could, no doubt." Yeah. So I don't doubt that he could. I just
I'm doubting him. Yeah. If I don't see it round 2 live, then I'm not gonna. Which means he needs to finish really well round 1.
Yeah, it has to happen on SmashBoxx, or it doesn't happen.
That's right. It doesn't count. It sounds like, right. I was gonna say, it sounds like the Sap House is very quiet now. Has everybody left?
Actually, everyone left. Oh, geez, except for one troublemaker. If you need any Boda's bug juice, make sure for only $4.99 a bottle. $5 with tax, he says. Oh, you up here in Massachusetts has some bug juice. He'll be out there filming the women and getting shots from all around the course. But yes, otherwise the Sap House actually cleared out shortly after we got started tonight. Sometimes it's insanely chaotic in here. I see shuffleboard, I see foosball, I see an old bubble air hockey, or an old bubble hockey machine, an air hockey machine, arcade game, pool table, poker table, and then a skee ball, and then darts, all right where I am. So, oh, you're gonna play them all right now. If you'd start with air hockey, everybody would love that. It's so quiet. So yes, it is. It's pretty awesome. And someone had asked on the board, round 1 for Jomez, and I think I was told which. What? There's so many stacked cards.
I have to assume they're filming the card that's got Ricky, Paul, is it Simon? And then the winner, the AM winner.
Oh, it's the champions card, as someone as it was referred to.
Yeah, that might be it. I'm not sure on the Simon comment. I can take a look right now. I'm pulling it up. It is the 12 o'clock card, and it has it's got Jeremy Coling, Macbeth, Wysocki, and then Zach Longyell from Griswold, Connecticut, who I believe is last week's winner.
Correct on the
Vibram Open. But as we said, there are a ton of stacked cards.
I'm sorry, what time did you say that's at, though?
That's at noon.
Wow, because I'm also hearing, hold the phones, folks.
There is a stacked card at 12:20, which is Kale, Devin, Matt Oram, and Michael Joe.
There's a stacked 12:40 card?
It looks like, it kind of looks like they stacked every other card. Because after, no offense to these guys, but after that stacked card, you go to a 960, 961, 962, and a 963 rated player. Then you go to Conrad, Anthon, Sexton, Lizotte.
Which is where it sounds as if Joe Maz will be covering.
He'll be covering the 1240 card.
That's what's listed currently. Joe Maz.
Wow. So who's
they may be on the 1240 card, which consists of James Conrad, Josh Anthon, Nate Sexton, and Simon Lizotte.
So please tell me you're going to be covering the 12 o'clock card then, or somebody will.
I don't know. The 1220 card potentially could get covered, as you said, with Kale, Devin Owens, Matt.
No one cares about them. People want to see Paul, Ricky, Coling, and Zach. I'm sorry, Zach. No one really wants to see you, but by default, you're going to get seen. Congratulations on winning last week, but if you're honest with yourself, no one's dying to watch you play except for maybe your mom. And but in general, if that card's not covered, it's going to be there's going to be a small online riot.
And that's fine. The question is, though, let's say I go out and cover it. I'd love to. What else do I have to do on my day off, right? So I'd love to go cover it. The problem is I'm not going to have the time to put it together and to edit it. And then people are going to lose their mind and get mad and say, "Oh, Terry's out there. Where's the coverage? We're never going to see it."
Then follow them with do some Facebook Live and follow them. Just like for a few holes, because we know there's spots on that course which the signal dies down between 10 and 14. The signal's a little iffy because you get way to the other end of the course and it dips down a hill. So usually in general we kind of cut away from there. We go to hole 14, watch people throw over the water for a while, but then follow them in. So try to get 8, 9, 10 of their holes covered. I don't know.
The problem is
no. I don't want any excuses. I just want to say that if it's not covered or there's no footage of it, and this isn't your fault, but there will be a small riot.
And all
true
I
story.
can say is that's not my fault.
It's not our problem.
It is. So we'll see how that unfolds. And then in having a conversation with Nate Heinold, I ran into him earlier at the downtown disc golf. And he's also on a pretty stacked card, he being the weakest link, but he's on a pretty solid card. I believe it was Nate, Cole Glazer, Ulibarri, and someone else really good?
Eagle. Cam Cole Glazer, Eagle, Nate Heinold, and Paul Ulibarri. So
again, another really good card. I mean,
there's a lot of star power here, and the event kind of looks like, as I called it earlier this week, a bell curve when it comes to the way the cards are laid out. You have your early and late guys, which are lower rated, your 950s, 970s, and then in the middle, during the prime time hours, you have your better rated players. I assume that is for...
I mean, the mentality is you want the majority of your players that have the best chance to win
to play together.
Compacted time zone, exactly, time frame.
And as I explained, you don't want Ricky on the course at 8 a.m. when the weather is awful, and then Paul on the course at 2 p.m. when all the weather's gone and it's clear skies and no wind. In general, you want the highest rated players to play within an hour or two of each other so that the weather conditions are the same, so there's no excuses.
And Jeremiah on the board says that's bogus for the lower rated players. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I mean, I understand how it seems very unfair, and I don't entirely disagree with that mentality.
I
don't know if
I'll say this. What's unfair about it? That they don't get to play with the big players? That they have to play earlier or later? Because you could have got an earlier round at, we'll just say 10 a.m., or you could have got a 2 p.m. round. Because like I said, it kind of, you got your little bell curve. So I don't know what the problem is. And it looks like there's a few less than featured cards between some of those bigger cards. So and I don't know why that is, because in general, they will tend to slow down the course in the middle like that. But it's day one. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't necessarily think it's unfair that they don't, that they're stacked. I mean,
yeah, we could debate this for hours, and we could have a 12-hour podcast-a-thon about the fairness of stacked cards. We've beat that to death throughout the years, and we have a lot of players that are totally fine with it, some players who hate it, and everything in between. There's really no consensus whatsoever as to Chuck Kennedy will tell you that statistically there has never proven to be an advantage to being on a stacked card.
Correct.
Take it for what you will. Yeah, exactly. There's just only so much we could do about it. So I'll go ahead and I would commit. And here again, I would say I would love to commit to that 12 o'clock card. The challenge not only is the editing of it and getting it all out and together. If people somehow got over that, the next comment would be, why is the disc golf guy on this with one camera? Why isn't Joe Mez on this with their 3 cameras? Never mind that Joe Mez is literally, watching a card 20 minutes later, and they're here to do post-production where I'm not. But that would be the next thing that would get barked out. And it's one of those things where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, to just be completely blunt about it. I would love to go out and film it. I probably will, it sounds like, as we're looking at all the different discussion and options. It's at a pretty reasonable time. I've got a lot of stuff to prep and get ready for yet tonight and whatnot. So I will likely go out there, though, and put it together.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll get all the best footage in the world, and I'll just
put it
on my computer. Just watch it myself.
All the aces, you'll have them.
Yeah, I'll have like 9 aces. I'll be like, you guys should have just been here, man. Take it all in and stuff. So yeah, it'll just be 18 aces in a row.
Well, whatever.
Anyway, and I don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy. It's just and so it's not the woe.
Again, we're not there.
The reality. Yeah, that's what will happen is people will lose their minds when it's they realize it's not 3 camera and it's not going to be out at midnight that night. They're gonna lose their minds. So
yeah, whatever.
All right. I think the other quick thing I want to do, speaking of media, speaking of coverage, I'm going to backtrack for just 2 quick seconds again and say, not only did I have a great time in Pittsburgh, and I said this to a lot of the players or a lot of the volunteers. I tried to thank every spotter that was out there. They worked tirelessly. They worked really hard. They put on a really solid event. I saw Jay Gary Dropko out there, and he was playing, and he's kind of one of the godfathers of that area.
He's a legend out there.
Yeah, and he was out there playing and enjoying it, and realizing that, hey, I can relax a little bit, and some of these other people have it. The event was run smoothly. Everything was on time. Everyone was gracious and polite and helpful. And in addition to all of that, and in addition to the PDGA supporting the women and the women's coverage and having me there filming it, El Guapo Baskets, Ladies First, and Soulflight also reached out personally and wanted to support the coverage. So with all of that, I wanted to say thank you guys so much to support just that, the women's coverage and what we could do with it and getting more of it out there. So it means a lot to the women, and it means a lot to me that we could get it out there for everyone to take it in for the weekend. So thank you guys very much for all of that. Here comes an on-air plug. This is Boda's Bug Juice and Tick Spray. This is Boda. Now, the question is, I asked this earlier, does this in fact repel chiggers?
We're still doing research on that.
Still doing
We have
research.
the scientific research team at Harvard working on that.
Okay, so Harvard is looking into it. And now,
No, his name is Harvard.
the question is one more effective than the other? I have a pink bottle, a blue bottle, and a green bottle.
Well, the pink is for the guys.
Okay.
And the blue is for the boys.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. So all right. So if you need to pick any of this up in these fancy bottles,
Why does it say? Why does it say FBA approved? What's the FBA?
Okay, well, I look forward to those. If you have any more of those bottles, I would try those. Oh, thank you. Cheers. Boda's Bug Juice and Tick Spray.
For those of you that don't know, that is Todd Dodge. He is one of our cameramen. I don't know where he got the tick juice, but
he makes it. And he's also Steve's brother. So take that into consideration, what he has to go through on day in, day out. 100% natural and what? And 100% organic and also gluten-free. So
don't drink it. Don't drink it. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's go into an after show. This week there's not a lot to talk about. You know, all of our pros are kind of hanging out there. We'll get into the after show. We got a little bit of stuff to talk about as far as discs and giveaways, all sorts of fun stuff.
All right, I'm good with that. It's I have a quick recap is just nothing but accolades for my experience in Pittsburgh and following the women and covering the women and producing the women's coverage was just such an honor, and it was awesome to do. And I'm just looking forward to these next few weeks. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and then as we move into Nantucket, and then Green Mountain Championships, and then the U.S. Women's. There's just so much good golf to be had, and we talked about it last week, and I'm going to keep talking about it for the next 4 or 5 weeks, to be at all of these events with our top level players doing what they do and entertaining us and putting up these great scores. I'm super excited about all of it. Oh, Matthew Q says, super chat, $3 for a beer. Thanks. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Matthew.
All right, so yeah, we can cut this a little bit short, and we can get into some odds and ends during the after show. I think I've got a few more things for you guys. But it's relatively quiet here. This will be the quietest it is all week. So I'm glad we can enjoy it. There's another mosquito. But it should be a fun week, and we're looking forward to everyone joining us on Friday. So for Johnny V back in the Milwaukee studios, and for Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, here at the Sap House, located at Maple Hill, we're looking forward to a great week. We invite you to join us live on Friday at 3:30 Eastern Time for the second round of the Vibram Open. We will see you guys. We'll see you in the after show. We're going to give away some action, and then we'll see you again on Friday. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Surprise!
What? What's going on?
This is fun because Terry can't see what's going on my side, so I can just bring it back. I was really hoping to catch him mid-conversation, kind of like how we brought him in when he was in the middle of a laugh or a talking with somebody.
Yep.
So welcome to the after show. This is where things get a little bit looser. This is one of our shorter shows so far. It was only an hour and 15 minutes, so a lot of people are going to be happy. A couple people are going to be sad. And we're going to do, this is where we do our giveaway. If you want to be eligible for that, as always, we tell people patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's patreon.com/SmashBox with 2 X's, TV. And all it takes is $1 a month. And that's like an airport beer. If you go to an airport and you buy a beer, that's about what it would cost to support us. So if it's the sole revenue source of this podcast.
What airport and what beer do you drink? So $1, did you just say $1 a month?
$1 a month, $12.
Oh, so you're saying okay? So you're saying for a year? I was gonna say because $1. Okay, I was thinking $1 a week times the 4 or 5 weeks does not buy you an airport beer. But yes, $1 a month for 12 months gets you 1 beer. Okay, that makes more sense.
One good beer in airport. Now, don't get me wrong. If you did $1, if you did $1 a week, and I've had a $52 airport bar bill. I'm just saying it's happened. And if you wanted to do that, we'd love you even more. But again, for the price of a little dinner, or if you could be like tired of crap and just donate every week on the super chat, that's fantastic. Thank you, tired of crap. That's $8. He gave us an airport beer price. Has Terry never been to an airport? Yeah, he was confused as to month versus week.
I was where Johnny was going with that. I was in an airport this morning, and a car, and a train, and another car. What else were we on? Lots of stuff. A shuttle. Too much stuff. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Yes. So thank you, Tired of Crap. We appreciate it. And if you want us to for sure read or at least see, and usually read the comment that you make, you can go to the super chat. There's a little $sign found on the YouTube page, and it makes it big and bold and colorful. So we are going to for sure see and or recognize if you put something in there, it jumps out at us, and we're glad to do so. So very much appreciated. Tire of Crap, as his login is very generous and weekly contributes to our cause. So we appreciate that very much. Jeremiah says, I never see Terry drinking on the podcast since that awesome live after show week. In all fairness, that week is very different in that, well, it's glass blown. No, it's just very different in that you're in a much smaller city with things that are more controlled. And I don't want to say that's bonus, but that's all extra fun stuff that's going on. And when I go and normally do a podcast, I drive 30 minutes to Johnny V's house. And so by no means would it make sense for me to get all smashed hanging out at his house and then drive anywhere, let alone home, but drive anywhere. So GBO week is very different where there's other people, drivers, and other things that are unfolding. So
true.
But generally, I'm not that big of a drinker. So.
Let's real quick talk about Terry. Were you able to bring in or take in, I guess that's a better way, take in the downtown disc golf? We didn't get a chance to talk about that during the regular show, as we probably should have. So we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it.
We'll discuss it right after Gregoire, PDGA media manager, with a super chat, says, I cannot afford this comment. Very clever. So thank you, Marty. We appreciate it. And thank you for the support in bringing us. Let's talk, before I talk about downtown disc golf, one of the clarifications from this last weekend that should be made was we were not able to be live in Pittsburgh. I think everyone now is up to speed with that. However, there are a few good spots of cell signal on that course. So you saw Marty Gregoire running around, going to the Facebook Live a couple times, onto the PDG account. Conveniently, holes 15 through or 16 through 18 actually have decent signal, so it's kind of cool to see the end of a round or the end of a tournament that way. But even hole 14, one of the most, a couple of them, 14 and 15, sometimes the signal wasn't very good. So it was really spotty in various sections of the course. And we said it last week and the week before, rather than go to an event and outlay a bunch of time and energy, resources, and everything else to give you guys a mediocre to poor product of sketchy cell signal and patchy signal and patchy video that really is frustrating for you and for us. We opted to stand down for that whole weekend, and Marty took advantage of Facebook Live when the signal allowed it. So that's just to clarify any confusion up there, because of course naturally you saw people saying, "What? Why are they Facebook Living? I thought there was no signal." Well, for half the course there was virtually no signal. So in other halves of the course there was decent signal. So something to keep in mind out there.
Yes.
So Johnny had asked, did I? Yes. The short answer is I got to experience the downtown disc golf after we got into Boston. We ultimately took a train out to Worcester. That was the first time taking the train out of town, which was awesome after a bus ride. It was great to do, and we had a little 10-minute walk over to the DCU, which I don't know what that stands for, what that's short for, but the DCU is Coliseum type setting. I think there's ice hockey and other things that take place in there. And it was awesome. There was 9 holes that were set up, and it was kind of cool in that, well, not kind of, it was very cool in that you got 2 discs to play with. They were dynamic discs, and you threw both of them and then played them out individually. So it was kind of like you were playing 18 holes because you were playing with the 2 sets of discs.
Okay.
So I just about whooped Wysocki. Except for, did we do the same? No, he got a stroke on me on the final hole. He went, with one of them, he got a 5 because he went OB like I did. And with his other play, I think he got a 2. And I went 3-5 on the most challenging hole. And that was the difference. He had to catch me on the final hole. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
You're saying you lost to Wysocki, which no one's surprised about.
No, we tied. No, we tied.
Oh.
We ultimately tied only because I lost a stroke to him on the final hole. So, I had the box most of the time. I'm just saying, yeah. So he's lucky. All right. Yeah, whoops is a very loose. So someone had said we missed a question out there. So the downtown disc golf, the experience was awesome. Thank you to DD, who was in fact the primary supporter and sponsor of it. But I know Jim was out there working his tail off, and Miles was out there working hard, and Steve Dodge, and a lot of the crew and the staff, and check-in was taking place for the event. So all around, it was a lot of fun. I know they didn't have quite the attendance they had hoped. It is the middle of the day on a Wednesday, so there could be maybe other better times, but just the concept was there. It was a lot of fun. Paul Macbeth and Hannah played. Wysocki, Ricky Wysocki and Sadie played. I think I heard Eric McCabe was there. I don't think Paige and Zoe played. I know they checked in there. Saw Mike Barnett and Miles out there playing. There were a lot of people that went out and took it in. I think Charlie Goodpasture played around. So a lot of people had fun with it, and that's exactly what we love to see. Hannah and Justin Leatherman were out there, and I don't know that they actually played. I think they were just walking along with some of the kids, but it was awesome to see. It was a lot of fun, so very cool. We go out and partake. And then I'll throw in a quick plug. DD, I think, released a video for their Luck of the Draw doubles that they just did in Emporia a few weeks ago that had Ricky Wysocki, Paige Pierce, and Eric McCabe. And I know they're doing another Luck of the Draw event this week. And I'm not sure if that one's Monday or Tuesday, but they're doing another one next week right here in this area. So just throwing that out there so that everyone knows. Zach asks, who's Sadie? She's friends with Ricky.
That's kind of, you gave a little side eye there.
Well, she's friends with Ricky. I didn't know her as. I've seen her at a few events, and that's what she'll take. She's friends with Ricky.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so Dustin did play, but not Hannah. And Josh, sorry we didn't chit-chat. I thought I saw you there, but we didn't chit-chat. Hannah, I did not beat Hannah, but I don't know what Hannah scored, actually. But she made the most amazing putt over, like, a stack of benches or something, like blind, reaching out forehand from 40 feet and cans it on a little marksman basket. It was awesome. Yeah, it was very cool to see. So... yes, Carver, we already talked about Bradley Williams' suspension. We talked about that in the regular show. It sounds as if he's undergone some anger management classes, and there was some stipulation as to that, and then possibly resulting in his a reduced suspension for him. So it sounds like he's, what was the exact date, did you say, Johnny?
September 8th.
Or 11th? September 8th, okay. So September 8th. Looks like he will be eligible to then again play in PDGA events. And you said a continued probation. Is that what I?
Yeah, the probation will be, I believe, will continue through the 24 months, because it was an 18-month suspension with a 24-month probation. So it was going to be an extra, I believe, obviously 6 months worth of probation. Now he'll just go right into the probation phase after the 12 months. So it'll be 12-month suspension, 12-month probation, and he'll need to be on his best behavior.
Okay. All right. There's some talk on the board about possibly sleeper picks or dark horses or however you want to refer to it. And someone had said that they think Risley, Marty Gregoire, in fact, says he thinks AJ Risley, who's had a hot hand lately, will finish in the top 15. That's a...
Don't go trying to make your money back off of me, off of Gregoire.
It's a tall order.
Because I don't take pass throughs. I'm not gonna call you and be like, you need to talk to Gregoire because he owes me money. I don't deal with that.
Okay, well, okay, that sounds like an interesting bet if you wanted to put any coinage on that, Mr. Gregoire. I did win, however. I did win dinner, I think, from Steve Dodge. He thought he was going to finish with a great score at the downtown disc golf. No, I think he went bogey to finish. All right, Michael Cousins, real quick, there's a great shout out. Hey, Mike, sorry. For those who don't know, Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch is arguably Johnny V and my favorite place on the planet. And because we are here at Vibram, we are not competing and relaxing at sandypt.com. There you go, Mike. But yeah, Sandy Point is just one of the greatest places just on earth, and it's in northern Wisconsin, short of where the Worlds was held in 2007. Worlds was held in High Bridge, and about 75 minutes short of there, up near Minocqua, Woodruff, Lac du Flambeau area. Also the area many of you would maybe recognize is where Adam Hammes is from. So yes, we are not up in the Northwoods this weekend, which is very, very... Is it bittersweet? Is that the term, Johnny?
That we're covering and not able to play in a disc golf event? Yeah. It's more bitter than sweet, because I would... As much as I love to do the coverage of the Vibram, and I like doing what we're doing because it's cool and it's fun and we're groundbreaking things. And my wife is upset as well, because this is our usually weekend to dump the kids, go up and spend a weekend at a cabin with our friends, play some mediocre disc golf, and just have fun, hang out on the lake, watch a bunch of off the raft competition wherever you get pontooned out to a raft that's about 200 feet away from a basket, and people throw and aim at whatever basket to win prizes. If you get the chance, and I know we've said it before, if you're not at Vibram, the only other event you should be at is Sandy Point. If you can't get into one of those two events, then maybe play whatever local event you are. But first, it's hard to get into Vibram. It's not hard to get into Sandy Point. You just need to sign up early. So it is an event I wish every person had a chance to go play.
Yeah, so certainly sad that we're not there. Again, if you want to go play a really fun private course, definitely check out Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch. That's sandypt.com. So, yes, it's funny. talked about it earlier, and that's the only real downside to being here this weekend is that we're not able to participate in that. Where a lot of our friends and other competitors will be in Wisconsin. So very cool. Johnny, I don't know if we have too much more. I know one question that's been asked is, will we have shows every night? And I think the answer is kind of like
maybe.
Well, I was going to say or something along the lines of what we've seen at Glassblown, where it might just be me. We have access to a lot of our players that hang out, and it might just be easiest if I fire something up and get going. Johnny may or may not be involved depending on how the day unfolds and what's going on each night. And I may or may not be up for it myself. We'll have to see kind of how the week unfolds and what each night looks like. And if I know one night in here in the past traditionally becomes game night, and it's awesome having so many players in here hanging out, playing all these games and having fun and being competitive, but it's insanely loud. And you can't really hear anything else. So if there is game night in here, I'm more inclined to maybe do a Facebook Live and walk around for a few minutes than to try and do a show where I'm sitting here stationary.
Pro tip, Terry, take the the air hockey puck and hide it. Just sit on it, and that should be fine. Because we can, I think most people can deal with the yelling, with the pool, with whatever. It's that air hockey that's like all of 15 feet from you that's always the bothersome.
Yeah. Oh, got another one. A couple of things off the board. Marty Gregoire says there are, in fact, 8 A tiers this weekend going on, 6 in the U.S., 1 in Canada, and 1 in Finland. So 6 A tiers taking place this weekend. And we just spoke with Sandy Point. That's actually a B tier this year, but still an awesome event. And Seth has also said, and I know we're going to have a lot of this, if you're within a few hours of here and you're too outgoing to just sit at home and watch our broadcast, come here and take it in person and or do some UDIS scoring. We set you up. We can get you a battery. We get you a little code. You punch it in, and then you get to walk around. You get to be right there with the players, and then you get to help assist in creating the UDIS stats and scores. You never punch in a number. All you do is, basically list where they landed, off of a little menu on an app, and you list, fairway or not. You don't have to do any addition. You don't have to do any algebra or trigonometry. You just simply, hit a few buttons. So if you can, come on out and participate. Ryan Pilcher says $5 super chat for air hockey. Great game, just too loud and annoying when it's being played here.
Yeah, well, I love playing air hockey, and I love playing shuffleboard. And shuffleboard's nice and quiet. The players aren't, but the shuffleboard is. The air hockey, oof, that's a little rough. I have
shuffleboard or air hockey. Yeah. Okay.
I've got a pro tip, and it's not a tip for AM players to get better to be pro. It's a tip for pro players. Before you go to an event, there's a little website called Disc Golf Course Review. Log in and take a look at what kind of baskets there are. If you don't like the baskets, don't show up and play. Because I don't want to hear you piss and moan on Facebook about the baskets at an event. It's unprofessional. And it's not like the night before they swapped out the baskets for something different. You knew what you were getting into when you showed up. So if you're out there complaining about baskets, I'm done with you. I'm sick of hearing it. So that's my pro tip for the weekend. Because I was sick of hearing about the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open had disc catchers, and people were complaining about them again, just like they did at Ledgestone. We've already went over it. Discraft is working on a solution. We know that there is a flaw in every basket, and this one happens to be where if you hit it a little high and hard, it tends to go through and hit poles and bounce back. We all know it. So congratulations. I just, rather than make a big Facebook post about it, which I had all typed up, and I thought all this is going to do is just perpetuate the problem and have 1,000 comments under it, and people will go off in other different directions. I figured this is a better place for it because no one can comment on it other than the YouTube comments, which are probably right down here.
And you're a little bitch, and you're not here at the event where all the pros are. So,
if they want to call, my phone's open. I'll take their call right now, right on the show.
I'm kind of kidding.
I know.
No, it is a very. Your point is valid in that everyone can argue about what basket you like, and this is not to pick on Discraft. This is not to pick on any manufacturer. You can say you love this basket or you hate that basket, but you're right. The baskets do not change
the night before an event.
They don't change the night before. I was going to say in an event a week before the event. Sometimes they could. Usually, if so, it's an upgrade. So that should, in theory, help you. But they could. But again, it's subjective in the point that someone could say, well, they had this basket and they upgraded to this basket, and you could say, oh, I really love their old baskets. I hate that basket.
And I swear,
so it's constructive.
This isn't a shot at any particular pro. This is a shot at a few of them that I saw posting that complained about the baskets again. Like, I respect them all. They're all great players. And I've said it before, and people complain when it's said out there like, oh, you need to adjust to the basket. Unfortunately, if you decide to play the event, you do. And if you choose not to and you have those problems, that's on you. Because those particular baskets... Here's my other thought about baskets. What's the goal of disc golf, Terry, for each hole? What's your end goal? To have your disc
course, the least amount of strokes.
Okay, the goal is to put the frisbee in the basket. No one said anything about putting the frisbee in the chains. I mean, I know it's ticky tacky and you can argue, but honestly, the chains are there to slow your disc down to fall into the basket. That's the purpose of the chains. The purpose of the chains aren't to catch and hold your disc. They're there just to slow it down. And I understand that we've become a sport where our goal is to hit a spot on the basket that in chains and have it fall down and stop wherever it is. Because we've all seen the disc, the way it wedges against the chain. Sometimes it always looks really cool, and everyone takes a picture of it. And I agree, it's kind of cool. But ultimately, those baskets, it's best to hit about 3 inches above the chains, aiming downward. And every basket has a flaw. And if you don't like it, don't play.
Okay. No, I follow what you're saying. I think Jamie Thomas had put out a post and a few weeks ago. And funny enough, our prior PDGA executive director, Brian Graham, was one of the early guys to chime in and said post of the year. Jamie Thomas, who many of you know from Spin TV or works with Spin TV, works with the World Tour, wears a lot of different hats in disc golf media, had essentially gone out a couple weeks ago and said, I'm relatively new to the sport compared to some of you. However, one thing I can certainly say is I'd love to see more professionalism within our social media interactions from our top pros. And I think this kind of ties into exactly what you're saying, which is, if you go to an event and you have an unfavorable experience, whether it's a basket or it's a player or a spotter or whatever the case might be, maybe social media isn't the best solution. Maybe it is. I guess it's a case by case, and it depends maybe on what you've done about it prior. If you've tried to address someone or some topic 9 other ways and you don't feel like you've gotten a resolution, well, then maybe Facebook is the next best outlet for you. Maybe it's your first best outlet. I don't know. Every situation's a little different. I have bad hair days. I mean, I go to Facebook with it. So I understand that. Okay, you're right. I don't. So I understand that there's different ways that you want to go about it. But if we're a small sport our pros, by watching even what we see here on our board, our pros are highly regarded and very much respected and influential. And when they say something, a lot of people listen. And so when they put out a negative message, a lot of people listen to that as well. And one thought that I'll say to kind of tie it in is there's been, we'll say, criticism or challenge of, we'll say, chain stars and Mach 3s. We'll just call it out and say what it is.
Yeah.
Those baskets,
those baskets might have been there before the players started touring.
Exactly.
I mean,
and those baskets have been around for a long time. And my last point to it is, are there more spit outs today, or is there just an easier way to complain about it?
Well,
because I think that's a question that
you could make a couple arguments. One, players tend to putt harder these days because they're used to different types of baskets. Back in the day, we really only had Mach 3s, and then when the Mach 5 with the sliding chains come out, everyone thought it was a miracle. Like, I can hit it high and it might go in, as opposed to not having a slider and it hitting and just kicking straight back at you. Now you could hit it high and it might slide up and fly in. So there's that. But as we say, like, you can't I hate to say that. Complaining about the basket is, again, it's almost pointless because, as we know, to furnish a new course with baskets is about anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000, depending on the type of baskets you get. Local clubs can't necessarily afford that. You can argue that maybe the PDGA shouldn't allow NT events on courses that have those baskets. That's a valid argument. Take it up with the PDGA. But to complain about the baskets when you're at an event, to me, is really ridiculous. And it's only because I think it shows disrespect for the event. I think it shows disrespect. I think it's unprofessional of players to go to social media with it. Complain in private. There's no reason you need to bring it out in public. And this is and Zach on the board is saying, well, isn't that exactly what I'm doing? Yes. This is my forum, though. Facebook isn't. And there's a difference between complaining about people complaining and complaining about something else. It's a fine line, I guess. But I understand Zach's point as well. I just don't like seeing it. I wish they would take it up with the PDGA. There are reports you can fill out after every event to rate the events. Isn't that correct, Terry? Not event results, but what are they called?
Feedback form.
The event feedback form. Very simple. Use that forum rather than blow it out on social media, because I think it makes you look bad, and I think it makes it shines a bad light on the event, of which people put tons and tons and tons of money and work into. And I personally don't like to see that as that result from that type of work, because that's the basket. Unfortunately, it might not be something that they can deal with right now. We saw the Brent Hambrick last year. There was complaints about the baskets, and they came out and said, we're using some of the money raised to help replace these baskets. And that was one of the reasons, they ran raffles and things like that. So we know there are issues at this point.
I hear you, and some have said on the board that complaining and or bringing these things to light is what will then maybe be the catalyst for change. I'll throw out a big fancy word of my own there. Maybe not, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a public forum to the degree, along with the exposure and just the draw that some of these players have. If some of our players speak, they have a very wide and large audience, and it could have been just as effective if they would have just brought it to someone personally. So I hear what but your point is very valid in that, yes, you sign up for an event, you can call the TD, you can go on Disc Golf Course Review, there's a lot of different ways that you can find out what baskets are at that event. You can say, okay, it's got basket C. Okay, are they going to change to basket ABD? And when they say no, you say, okay, well, then I'm not going to be there. And at that point, you're voting with your dollars. And at that point, you can say to them, I'm not going to attend, and here's the reason why. And the organizers have to then start taking that into consideration. And they may say, you know what? We're losing the 5 best players because of this, and we need to adjust it, or we need to address it. Or they may say, that's all right. We're good with that.
Yeah. I mean, if we know that if the swell of players doesn't show up, and the reasoning is if they heard baskets, that'll change. I respect someone like Eagle McMahon way more because and this is, I guess, rumor because I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, that he doesn't go to Ledgestone because he didn't like the course. So rather than go to the course and complain about it, he just decided to stay home. I didn't see anything on social media really about it during that week, and he chose to, take, he voted with his dollars. We'll put it that way, and I think that's the route we need to go, and I think that's a better forum and a better way to address the situation than Facebook. And again, as we said, Facebook can be the solution, but also, a spoonful of sugar can help out. Maybe rather than just complain about the baskets, say, hey guys, the event was run fantastic, blah, blah, blah. I just really wish that they'd swap out the baskets. I'm not a fan of, but just coming out and screaming about baskets, I think it's just a bad social media face. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, Zeppy's on the board. Jeff, he's talking about standardizing baskets and so on and so forth. I'd go as far as saying the one challenge, and this is a whole nother world of topics, but the one challenge I see here is who is the official standard? And I know the Disc Golf Pro Tour essentially said, here's the 4 most voted upon baskets that are approved. We should be using these baskets. And Steve Dodge has taken full ownership of making a few poor choices and saying, these were granted waivers and they shouldn't have been. We're past that. Okay, he's admitted and owned up to that. My question is, you may love the Innova disc catcher, and then the next guy loves the Prodigy basket, and the next guy loves the Mach X, the Dynamic Disc Veteran, whatever. It would be, as soon as you say, okay, every single NT has basket X, not Mach X, but basket
I was waiting
X,
for that.
Basket Y, every NT does, or every Disc Golf Pro or Tour Stop does. You are still open to the people that say, well, I hate that basket. I mean, there's just no way to win. You could probably eliminate a few that people generally don't care for.
Universally
but as
dislike.
One and only one, you're still not going to win that battle.
Yeah.
You can't win that battle.
There is no... Now, I think it might be a good idea, and granted, this is far-fetched, and I think we've discussed it before. If you want to have an official basket of the PDGA NT, somebody has to step up and pay for that. Let's just play pretend it's a DGA. DGA says, we want to be that basket provider. Here you go, PDGA. Here is a set of 18 baskets that now I guess you have to travel with, or we will ship them to each of these events. They either need to do it based on the event, and they need to ship them out like that, or they need to shell out a ton of money to be the official sponsor, the official basket of the PDGA NTs. And maybe that's the way we have to go about it. But I don't see anybody doing that. I don't know if that's even an option in the PDGA's eyes right now, if it's something that they don't want to deal with. I don't know, but that to me sounds like a pretty good idea if that's what we want to do. If we want to have a uniform basket, then whoever's uniform basket needs to step up, because then can people complain? And they can, because they can always complain. What if I'm just saying, what if Discraft, who people don't like the Chain Stars, what if they stepped up with $100,000 and said, every NT is going to have Chain Stars, and here's $100,000 to put in your purse? We saw it at the Ledgestone. People still complained, but that's a lot of money. And as we know, money talks. So what would the result be at that point? But I would like to see a sponsor donate money to the PDGA to be an official basket sponsor. The problem we have is we have all these different events that have all these different title sponsors. So
that too.
You've got the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open, which is sponsored by Discraft, but then you have other events that are sponsored by Lizotte, the Gentlemen's Club. You have, and they don't want that. It's a similar problem we run into in the media where, okay, we're going to go cover the Gentlemen's Club. I guess Discraft can't be a sponsor for us, even though they'd be willing to give us, $50 in a commercial. But Innova says, well, we don't want that on our premier event. So there's a lot that needs to be worked out behind the scenes with the PDGA, not just media. I know I brought it towards that, but in general, tours and things like that. And I don't know if we're there yet.
And I guess to just further and maybe wrap up your final point, if someone said, here is a set of baskets and here's $100,000 to support the Pro Tour, the National Tour, the World Tour, whatever the case might be. Here's an absurd amount of money for our sport, and here is an official basket. It is required. The contract will be that you must put this basket in, and these baskets must be played on for the entire year. As soon as someone becomes disgruntled or frustrated or something positive doesn't happen, the first thing they'll say is, oh, well, they were just bought out, or they were paid off to use these baskets anyway. How fair is that? I mean, we have to decide what money talks and how loud does it talk. Yeah. And then we have to live with it, because we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. We can't say we need more money and we're broke and when we're playing for pennies, but we need more money in the sport. And then certain situations come along where money or some things could be to address that. And then you say, we should never sacrifice the integrity just because of money. Which is it? And maybe there's a fine line. There's a happy medium. But you can't keep complaining on Facebook out of both sides of your mouth. Yeah. And I think we see a lot of that.
Well, and as we know, I'm just going to call him SWG on the board, says, you know what happens after we get the baskets situated? T-pads. People are going to complain about T-pads. This one's not big enough. This one's not. This one's too slick. This one wasn't raked when it was. This one's pointing the wrong direction. There's a where we go down in every. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. That if check something off, move on to the next complaint, and that's good. I mean, there'll always be something to complain about.
Well, true, and we all know that there's some valid T-pad concerns out there on any given day or any given weekend or any given event. Should someone? I feel the same way about T-pads as I do about baskets, in the sense that I don't care what it is as long as it's consistent. If you give me 18 particular baskets, I'm good with that. And give me 18 of the same T-pads, even if they kind of suck. At least then I know they will consistently suck, or whatever the case might be. But there's been times you go to an event and there's rubber on one hole, there's good concrete on another, there's asphalt on another, then there's paved brick on another.
I was going to say, you're saying you hate the Vibram Open because hole one doesn't have the concrete tee. I think that's what I just heard.
I'm wondering if are they all paved here?
I don't think so. Are they all? I don't think they're all pavers. Are they?
I don't remember. But either way, there's been some large-scale events, I'm not going to bother calling out, that we've seen just that, though. We've seen 3 or 4 or 5 different teeing surfaces on one round.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a valid concern. Again, the one, Zeppi's on the board. Rubber is garbage. Poll our players. They'll tell you that if it's the right rubber is awesome.
Yep.
I generally don't like it, but if you pull the certain player base, they're going to say that's their favorite.
See, and
people that play, say the best, and I hate concrete because it's bad on my knees.
I like rubber ones as long as it's dry. The problem is you get the wrong ones, they get a little wet, and suddenly they become skating rinks. It all depends on the type.
The type and the conditions. So again, you're right. There's always going to be something to complain about, but in the same token, we always want to be constantly growing and improving and finding these standards and adhering to the standards and getting there. But you have to realize whatever the standard becomes, it's still going to displease someone. So, all right. I think that we got everything that we need to. Yeah, see, Zeppi says cement is the ticket. I love cement, but a lot of players will tell you they hate it, it wears out their knees. They twist their knee too much. Well, I feel it's the most consistent, and I like it, but I don't play for a living.
And so Matt, the funny thing is, Matt Pipke says that the pavers at Maple Hill are awesome. Go back and look 2 years ago when it was pouring. I watched 2 or 3 players, and I think Jeremy Cohen was one, spill at the end of that hole 1 tee pad because they were trying to drive so hard because they slipped. And I'm not ripping on Vibram Open by any means, because in general everyone loves the place, and I do as well. But depending on the type of shoe you have too, I mean, there's 1,000 different combinations of shoe and tee pad probably. So it's
yeah. Either way. All right. Oh, cement is the ingredient in concrete. Thank you for the clarification, because I use those 2 terms interchangeably, cement and concrete. I think a lot of people do. And maybe that's sheer ignorance.
Cement, water, sand. I know all too well, unfortunately.
Okay. Wipe out. Johnny, do we have a giveaway?
We do.
Well, you should pick something. You should pick a person, and then I'll find something here at this event.
Okay. That we can
give away.
All right. So I have the list up here right now. We have more people again. So thanks to everyone. We're up to 155 patrons. I feel bad for the patrons who are out there because their chance is getting slightly less and less. But the more people are out there, the more people have a chance for the weekly giveaway. So we're going to give away something from the Vibram. Terry will figure that out this week, and we have 155 players. I've sorted them by first name. I'm hitting generate right now. It is number 124. So someone later in the thing. We've got Scott Breesee, Bresee. Scott Breesee. So
Steve, do you have anything cool to give away on the show just now?
So congratulations to Scott. You are the winner this week. Terry is going to get something out to you tomorrow. No, he's at the Vibram this week, so you can probably expect it in a week or week and a half or so. So yeah, we'll find out something good.
We will. I was just hustling Steve for something cool to give away. I'm just gonna steal something from the pro shop as well.
Oh no. You know what would be the best thing to Terry? Walk about 40 feet to your left. Take the 8-ball from the pool table. You have the Vibram Open 8-ball.
That would be a good idea.
Then no one can play. Ruin everybody's weekend.
I was going to follow it up. Steve Dodge was just in here for a moment. He's taking off, but there's something else I was going to say about it. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, we'll have something. Oh, a couple of quick things. I did, in fact, I was a little bit behind on a couple of the giveaways. I was what else do I have to do at 3:30 in the morning this morning before flying out? So I got those put together. I was Jake Harris was one of the gentlemen from a few weeks ago. Jake, your stuff is on the way. Someone else who won a few weeks ago, your stuff is on the way. And then I apologize, whoever it was from Canada, you won something a few weeks ago. I realized as I'm mid packaging that you were from Canada, and I'm like, and then that tied in perfectly to. You had also asked about your Patreon disc, so I didn't send out your winnings. The Patreon discs should be at my house on Tuesday. I know we've talked about them quite a bit. They were going to get shipped this week. They were going to arrive at my house on Friday, and I said I won't be there, so they don't have to be moved around at my house at all. So they were rescheduled due to the holiday, and they are showing up at my house on Tuesday. So in about 6 months, I'll mail them out, but they're actually physically showing up at the house. They've been paid for, and they are packaged and ready to go. So we'll ship out your disc, your stuff that you want, along with your Patreon disc. I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So, but the real news here is Patreon discs are stamped,
Yep.
boxed, and ready to be delivered. So it's been a longer process than it should have been, but they're on the way.
Everybody knows where we're getting them from, right?
I don't know if they do. And I've been purposely a little bit
Aloof?
vague. Yes. I don't know. Does anybody know? I think
we've discussed it. I think we've discussed it a little bit.
But anyway, so they're being produced, or they've been produced, and I'm super excited. And then we'll be getting those shipped out as well. So then we'll keep it a secret for a little while. The question from the board from Matthew is per podcast or monthly?
Your choice.
Your choice. You can actually, that's one of the beautiful things about Patreon for whomever you're supporting. You can go out there and you can choose to do it on a number of different levels, and then you can choose to cap it. So for instance, like my Disc Golf Guy video blogs, some months I may put out 12 of them, or I may put out 6 of them, or I may put out 28 of them. But you say, hey, I'd like to give $5 for every video you put out, but I'd like to cap it at $20. And if I put out 20 vlogs, you're still only charged that $20. So that's one of the coolest things about Patreon is you can set a maximum contribution limit that you'd like. And one thing, quick plug, anytime I do vlogs, like this last weekend when I did the Pittsburgh event, I produced a front and back for the women for round 1, round 2, and round 3. So 6 vlogs. I personally only charge patrons for one of the 2. So I will put it in the notes, or I'll hit the button, and everyone does it a little bit differently. But I will do it so that because I like giving you one whole round for one contribution. So and that's what I've done from day one since I started Patreon 3 or 4 years ago. So everybody does it a little bit differently. You may get an alert saying, oh, he's uploaded a video and it's the back 9 and you just got one for the front 9. You would only get charged for one of those for one. So the 6 videos I put out would count as really 3 Patreon supports for what that's worth. I just like to clarify that. I think some people feel like, oh no, there's a 24-hole course and someone put out 3 sets of 8. They're just trying to get more money out of us. It's like, no, 8 holes is a little more consumable. And so for me, that wouldn't be my intention. I'd do 2 12s at that point. But The point is, I'm not trying to fleece you.
Yeah. So what Terry's saying is, we're very honored that people take the time and give us donations, whether it's Super Chat or Patreon. It's how we do fund the show. And you can put a limit on your choice, whatever you want. If you want to just give us pay $1 per video and then put a $1 limit on it, you can do that and you'll be eligible for the giveaways. If you want to be eligible for the disc, you need to at least be $3. So yeah, we do appreciate every single player. So in person.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up. Man, the color on my camera here with all these lights looks gorgeous.
Yeah, you don't look washed out at all. When you make me look tan, that's a problem.
Yes, you are not, and stuff. And then the other quick to bring it full circle also, if you want to help contribute to any of the relief efforts going on, make sure you just go out, do a little research, find whatever one suits you best, the one that you believe in, and or do your own research. I know you can do it through texting and all those other methods these days. Go out and align yourself with how you feel it would be best. I know there's always controversy over that, but hopefully you go out and find the one that works best for you.
And you're talking right, you're talking about support for like the flooding in Houston and things like that there.
Yeah, and I mean obviously generically, but yes, specifically I was talking about the. I live in Pewaukee, which is where J.J. Watt is originally from and went to school. And I know in the condo association there was a note on my door last night about trying to collect some goods that ultimately would be part of what he's doing. And I thought that was kind of it just forever will be an interesting tie knowing that J.J. Watt's from the same city that I currently live in. So
yeah, he's going for 10 million is what someone's saying.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's so admirable and awesome. So very cool to see it. All right. Well, thank you guys out there, everyone out there. We see some great smashies. Disc Golf Nerd was a day late. Said he was lost last night. Didn't know what he was doing, but glad to have him. Luke, thanks for chiming in from out in Australia. Oh, see you out there. Marty Gregoire from the PDGA, always out there. He's got nothing better to do than to listen to me and bring me ice cream Snickers at 3 in the morning when I'm editing. So thank you, Marty. Sun King Disc, good seeing you out here, Mike Barnett, and just all the supporters. We're looking forward to a super good week, having fun out here. It looks like we should be blessed with pretty good weather. You may or may not see a nightly recap in some capacity some nights from me. That'll be out on the Disc Golf Guy channel if it happens. But otherwise, looking forward to a great weekend.
Yep, you can look forward to the smash cuts and the highlights, all those other things that we're putting out now. So,
as always, and again, I have to say it again, looking forward to Robert McCall Saturday and Sunday. So, I don't know who wouldn't love that. Thanks, El Guapo Baskets, Ladies First, and Soul Flight for your contributions over at Pittsburgh. If you're looking for some new baskets, El Guapo Baskets, great place to check out from the Northwest. I know he's actually behind schedule. He's got so many orders coming in, and we love supporting anyone and everyone that supports disc golf. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been your after show, partially from the Vibram Open out here in Massachusetts. We look forward to seeing you guys all week. Again, 3:30 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be live. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.